You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It's takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit Black Wolf
Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works, all them politicians down there and them congressmen. I'll bet you won't find none of them congressmen signing down their electric blankets tonight. Which if they did, their secretaries would get up and go home.
We gotta do something. Absolutely. You know what we gotta do? Toga party.
Toga! 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 Click, click, boom! I'm coming down on the stereo, Ribby on the radio. Click, click, boom!
I want you to kill every golfer on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
Well, all right. It's Friday night, which means it's time for Robinson and Wright. I'm one half of the crew, Mr. Big Robinson. We are live right now on KLRNradio.com, where liberty and reason still reign. And for those of you who don't follow along on my Twitter feed, be warned, I'm pissed. So we might as well just get that out of the way. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
I'm good. And those of you who maybe used to follow me along and maybe don't now because you don't realize that I'm gone, I'm pissed too. Yeah, I have about a tenth of my followers at this point.
I'm telling you,
I'm not very happy.
You need to protect
been
your
a little
account until you build
vocal.
it up.
I've been a little vocal the last couple days.
You need to just start being like the rest of these losers and protect your account until you build it back up again.
Is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just mainly giving you a hard time. But yeah, so for
we're a bunch of us are pretty.
Uh-oh, I lost you.
Dick Muppet. You there?
Well, yeah, no, I'm here, but you were kind of cutting in and out. I think I'm having some latency issues because I'm pretty sure my son is playing a video game, even though he knows I'm on the radio right now. Jerk.
Yeah, I think I pretty much got suspended for using the words or the term Dick Muppet. So.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. You could have gotten suspended for mentioning a laundry product.
Yeah, too. But hey, tossing around death threats and death wishes and calling women the C word, that's okay.
Fine, yeah, all that's completely acceptable. But God forbid you make a joke about millennials actually doing something stupid like eating a Tide Pod, you get suspended. But people can tell Dana Lesh to put a gun to her head and pull the trigger. But that's fine. Go figure.
Well, so anyway, yeah. So we're both pissed. The one thing that I always kind of at least felt about our president is that he had some balls. I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah, I really kind of thought that once upon a time myself. Now, really pretty much not so much. Because, he just basically left... what pisses me off is, this is what has me really, really mad. So I go into this thing, eyes open, telling everybody that at some point he's going to sell us down the river, and that's why he doesn't need to be the damn president of the United States. So then he suckers me into believing his crap for a few months, and then he turns around and sells us right back down the damn river, just like I knew he was going to do in the first place. And now I'm kicking myself for ever supporting the moron in the beginning of all of this, because everything that he just did, he undid in one fell swoop. Yes, we had good unemployment numbers, great unemployment numbers for the first time in a long time. We've had tax cuts, which were spurring the economy. But you just killed it.
Completely killed it.
And what's worse?
I mean, like I said in our promotional tweet today, $1.3 trillion.
So how many zeros are in a trillion? Because I didn't count them earlier.
Let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's a lot of zeros.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it's at least 12. At least.
I don't know if you saw the amazing tweet thread from Senator Rand Paul last night.
Yes, I did. I was actually reading through it and cheering the whole time he was tweeting it. I honestly was expecting Donald Trump to do something similar because I really thought, with everybody being as vocal as they were last night about how much this thing sucked, and all the people that were putting out polls that were getting amazing traction that had his name in it, and all the people that were tagging him in it, telling him what a terrible bill this was, I really, really thought he was going to do the right thing. Because here's the thing, folks, for all of you that are screaming and yelling, but Rick, he only did it for the military spending. So I want to back you guys up for just a second, because he already took the Democrats to the mat once over military spending. Do you really think, because I've heard this argument, that if he vetoed it, they would go back and remove the military funding and put the rest of it in there? No, because they've already been taken to the mat once over military spending. Trump could have done the smart play. It would have been dumb for the rest of us because we wouldn't have known that this was really what he wanted to do, but it would have been a smart play for him if he had vetoed it, sent it back down to Congress, made them either fix it or override his veto, because either way, either something gets fixed or he puts a target on everybody in Congress that wants all of this out-of-control spending. But instead, because he's the guy that signed it, guess what? What was it that Truman used to say? The buck stops here. As soon as he signed it, whatever this mess does, whether it's positive or negative, is all on him because he signed it. It doesn't matter who else wanted it. It doesn't matter how much good he thinks he can do with it. This is what pisses me off. For all of us that are all like, the Planned Parenthood doesn't need government funding anymore. Guess what? They just got more government funding. Obama,
$500 million.
Now, I want you guys to think about that number, because Planned Parenthood donates to the DNC. So they just basically, in a Ponzi scheme, took $5 million of your and my money to, number one, help murder children, number two, help to elect more Democrats. $500 million. If you're going to do that, if you're just going to throw money away, why not pick 500 homeless people out on the street and say, here's $1 million? You want to fix an economy, at least for the short term? If we're going to throw money away, that's the perfect way to do it. Just create rich people overnight.
All I need is 100,000.
I know, right?
100,000 would set me straight. I mean, literally, if they took what they passed today and just split it up between every American household, the economy would be completely fixed.
Well, not really, because what would happen if everybody got that big of a shot in the arm of cash? Everybody would just start raising their prices on everything because everybody has more money.
Probably.
Because that's honestly what would happen. But I mean, the thing that the thing that nobody seems to be talking about here, because I've seen all of these people that are like, but it's an omnibus bill, it's not a budget. You guys need to do some research. An omnibus bill is pretty much how we've been doing budgets since pretty much the 1950s. And it usually winds up being a bunch of good things rolled in with a lot more bad things that pretty much make it veto-proof because the people that want the good things are afraid to not vote for it because of the bad things. And then even if the president doesn't sign it, it's going to go back down and it's going to get vetoed anyway. But the thing about it is, if Trump had vetoed it, we would be having a completely different conversation right now. So on one level, I'm glad Trump didn't veto it because at least now we're finally getting to see the real Trump. But at the same time, I'm kind of pissed that he didn't veto it because we're getting to see the real Trump.
Right. And back to what you were saying, what people don't understand is, oh, this really isn't a budget. What it's basically saying is, okay, this isn't the budget, but what we're doing is passing what you can basically use as the budget. It's not saying that they have to spend that money. When has the government not spent the money?
Exactly. And that's the argument I've been making with people all night. Even if you start talking about the idea of maybe him slow-walking the appropriations. When the hell has the government slow-walked anything? For God's sake, we spent like $13 billion on one compressed natural gas station in Afghanistan. They don't even have compressed natural gas cars. The government doesn't slow walk anything when it comes to wasting your and my money. They waste it hand over fist every single opportunity they can get, and they cram enough good stuff in there that you guys are going along with it. That's like all you guys right now, they're like, oh, but he's getting the military funded and we really, really need that. Okay, great. But what about all the other things that they just did? What about all those terrible things that in the tweet storm that you were just talking about? Do they still call it a tweet storm now that you can connect them together and it's easier? I don't know. But anyway, the long tweet thread from Rand Paul and the one I saw from Ted Cruz. I mean, I'm looking at these two standing up for, fiscal responsibility and actual conservative ideals, and I'm going, either one of these guys had a shot at being president, and we elected this moron.
That's it. The top three. The top three. Well, I mean, I had a top four, but three of the top four for me voted against this.
Exactly.
And that's Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and Rand Paul. All three of them voted against this. Those are the. And I honestly, I liked Carly Fiorina, but those three guys, all three of them voted against this. And I've been called I was a big Marco Rubio supporter. And boy, was I called a cuck for that. Well, I'll tell you what, he voted against this, Trump didn't.
Hey, we're pretty much all cucks now, brother.
Yeah, I just going through that Rand Paul thread last night, we're talking billions upon billions of dollars in foreign aid, foreign disaster relief, it's like $10 million towards female, I don't even remember what country, police officers. What? We aren't giving that much money to female police officers in this country. What are we doing? Why are we funding the world?
Well, we're Team America World Police. Didn't you know that? Haven't you seen that movie?
I'm sick. I'm tired of it. And people sit back and call me, an isolationist. I'm not an isolationist. I'm not going to sit here and say that we shouldn't be a part of the world. But I'm talking tens. I mean, probably when you add it all up, hundreds of billions of tax dollars going for stupid crap in other countries. I'm tired of it. I am sick of looking at the taxes coming out of my paycheck and then looking at the national debt and going, wait a minute, wait. We have $21 trillion in debt, and we're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries to help them? When do we turn around and send that hundreds of billions of dollars towards us to help us? When does that happen?
Second Tuesday in next week.
I'm tired of it. I am so unbelievably sick of it. I really am. I mean, you and I, we pay out. I mean, I look at, and yeah, we got this little tax break, but honestly, I'm not actually seeing it. And I look at my pay stub, and I look at my gross and my net, and it makes me a little ill. And when I say that, I also include what I pay in health insurance, which I didn't have to pay 7 years ago. That to me is a tax. Because the reason I have to pay that is because my employer can't afford to pay it anymore. So that's a tax. When does this finally start turning around? Because if it doesn't start turning around, we can just forget about it. We can forget about this little experiment called the United States of America. We can forget about it. It's over.
I hate to say it, but I'm starting to get the impression it's been over for quite some time, and we just haven't gotten the memo. Because here's the thing that I'm struggling with, as somebody that, tries to do this every day and look at the news and take it apart and put it back together and try to put it in ways that people can understand it. The only thing that I keep coming up with every single time, sometimes it takes me a while. I'll get jazzed about something and start buying back into it again, but I always come back to the same thing. And I mentioned this on one of the very first times that I ever did this, a solo show, because it all started with finding common ground. One of the very first times that I did the America Off the Rails show, one of the first things that I talked about was the correlations I was starting to see between how government was working and a video game that I used to play back when I was in high school and college. And I'm going to butcher the name of it because I never can pronounce it right, but it was spelled as Deus Ex. And basically what it was a futuristic kind of a first-person role-playing kind of shooter game where basically you got to go along and follow the storylines, and choices that you made impacted the storyline. It was one of the first games that I ever remember playing where it was kind of, the game could be different depending on the choices that you made. Spoiler alert, the game's like 20 years old, but just in case you haven't played it anymore, or before, I'm about to spoil it for you. But the thing that you find out, and you don't really realize it until you're almost to the end of it, is no matter which path you take, you find out that at the end, you've been working for the same people all along. All they've been doing is they have like 3 different brands of the same thing that they basically get people to go along with whatever their beliefs and their ideals are, and they get them to buy into it, but what you don't realize is no matter which way you go, it's the same people behind the scenes all pushing the same damn buttons. And this is what we keep seeing time and time again because we keep buying into it and we keep being told, this time, guys, they're going to do it different. They're going to do it right because, by God, they told us they were going to do it right this time. And this time we believe them. I'm tired of being the rat in the maze trying to find the cheese. Because apparently there ain't no damn cheese in this maze.
No, you're right. It's, and there are, I feel bad. In a sense, I feel bad for those few, and those few being the likes of Cruz, Rand, Rubio, that they're literally holding up what they said they were going to do when they were running for president. And they all are. I mean, whether it be this or anything else, and it tells me, I mean, and maybe getting into that Oval Office, maybe it does change something, but I honestly feel that if we had put somebody like Rand Paul in the White House, he would be doing exactly what he's doing now. I believe that. I believe the guy has integrity, and I just, why can't we put those guys in office? That's what I don't understand. What, I mean, you could go either way. With Trump, how did we end up with him? Why did we end up with him? There's a lot of different, directions people think on that. And maybe if he hadn't been there, maybe we would have ended up with Hillary. But I honestly believe that any one of those three guys I just mentioned would have had no problem beating Hillary.
Knowing what we know now, I really don't think that would have been an issue. I think she would have lost to pretty much anybody because they hated her. You'd mentioned the tweets from Rand Paul. I actually found a few that I missed. So let's go over some of the highlights that he actually started going through. I guess he started winding it down while Zern and I were doing a show. So this is some of the absurdity that just got signed by President Donald Trump. $1 million.
And he only made it through about 600 pages.
Yeah,
of 2,200.
Yeah, so in those 600 pages, these are the highlights. $1 million for the Cultural Antiquities Task Force. $6.25 million for the Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation. $20 million for countering foreign state propaganda. $12 million for countering state disinformation and pressure. $5 million for the Vietnam Education Foundation grants. $2.579 million for Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe. $15 million to USAID for promoting international higher education between universities. $2.699 billion for international disaster assistance. $1.371 billion for contributions to international organizations. $51 million to promote international family planning and reproductive health, aka we just gave $51 million to move Planned Parenthood around the world. $7 million promoting international conservation. Conservation of what? Because apparently conservatives don't conserve nothing. $10 million for the UN environmental programs, otherwise known as Agenda 21. $1 million for the World Meteorological Association. Why the hell does the Meteorological Organization need $1 million of our money when they're paying meteorologists $60,000 a year to be wrong 99% of the time? $218 million for promoting democracy development in Europe. Yep, the birthplace of democracy needs promoting. $25 million for international religious freedom. $10 million for disadvantaged Egyptian students. I'm a disadvantaged American student. Can I get some of that $10 million? I can go back to school for $10 million for 4 or 5 times over. $12 million for scholarships for Lebanon. $20 million for Middle East Participation Initiative scholarship programs. $12 million in military funding for Vietnam. We're funding $3.5 million in nutrition assistance for Laos. $15 million in developmental assistance for China. We just put tariffs on China. Now we're going to hand them money?
Right. Yeah, we need to make sure that China develops more or something.
$10 million for female law enforcement officers in Afghanistan.
There's the one I was looking for. $10 million for female law enforcement officers in Afghanistan.
What do they have, like 2? Maybe?
They're rich.
I'm just saying. I mean, damn. I mean, what are they, like, building them their own private locker rooms and giving them Rolls-Royce cars that they can't drive because they're in Afghanistan?
I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, we got our own VA is broken. We've got homeless vets on the street. What is all this for? I mean, if we're gonna have a huge deficit and a huge debt, why aren't we taking care of our own people with it? Why?
Because that doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand. I mean, like, 3/4, almost all of what you just said, almost all of it is essentially foreign aid.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, so I put out this poll yesterday, right, that I never expected to get anywhere near as big as it's gotten. I ran it for 7 days just because I knew they were rushing it, but I really didn't expect them to vote on it today. So we had 716 votes, and this was the question. If it passes, should Donald Trump sign the omnibus bill? Please vote, retweet, and explain your answer in comments. Out of 716 votes, 5% said yes, 95% said no. Resoundingly, the comments ranged from "this is stupid" to "this is horse crap" to "are you retarded?" So, the consensus was pretty strong out of everybody that I polled that Donald Trump should not have signed this. And I'm reading a tweet from Kurt Schlichter right now, who is basically saying that everybody that's accusing Donald Trump of betraying them doesn't realize that he only was able to play the hand that he was dealt. I'm going to say the same thing I said at the beginning of the show. The hand he was dealt, and the smart hand for him to play, would have been, hey, I made a promise to the American people that I'm going to clean stuff up, so I'm not going to pass this. You guys can either override it or you can fix it. That would have been the smart play, because none of this would have been at his feet if he had been the one to veto it. Because then if it passed, his hands would have still been clean. Now again, I'm torn by the fact that he signed it, because I'm pissed that he signed it, but at the same time, at least we're getting a look at Donald Trump, because this is exactly what I told Jen was going to happen last night, before I realized that was actually going to happen today, was now Donald Trump's basically taking a victory lap, saying, I will never sign anything like this again, but look, guys, I got them to come together and agree on something. And it's terrible, but I got them to agree. It's bad enough that I'll never do it again, but I got them to agree.
Never doing it again means nothing. It's too late.
You never should have done it the first time, much less again.
And I understand to a certain extent what Schlichter is saying, but Schlichter's thinking about like an army colonel. That my military got its funding, we're all good. Because that's what he is. That's what he spent his life doing. I mean, he's now a lawyer, but he was career military. And he was a colonel. And he's watched his military be decimated for the last 8 years. I get that. You know, for the first time in about 7 years, the military actually has a real budget. Great. But why does the budget have to include the other, almost $1 trillion?
Yeah, 12 zeros. You can't even fathom on it. I mean, and that's part of the problem. People don't, when we start talking about numbers that large, people don't fathom the type of numbers that we're talking about, because they're so huge. And because everybody has this concept, because that's how they've been doing it, that, when the federal government runs out of money, all they got to do is fire up the inkjet printer that's hiding there in the Federal Reserve, and then all of a sudden we got more money again. But what they don't realize is each time we have to print more money, because, it's finite supply for a reason, each time we have to print more money to keep up with the things that we're spending that we're not getting money back on, it devalues the dollar.
Right.
So we're talking, and again, I've looked at the numbers. About 55% of this overall budget was military spending. So I mean, I understand on that level why Trump probably went ahead and signed it. What I don't understand, because again, it was no tactical disadvantage to him to let it be, to veto it and then let it be overturned. because we would be having a completely different conversation right now. Everybody would be pissed off at the rhinos in Congress and the Democrats in Congress for ramming through 45% worth of a junk bill just to get the one thing that some of us can agree that we actually did need. Do I think we needed that much money for the military? No, probably not. But I will admit that they have been cut to the bone. I will be the first one to tell you that. But we just funded Planned Parenthood. We just helped start a program to try to determine how we can judge whether or not people are mentally able to handle weaponry. This is bad.
Yeah, and we didn't do anything at all to defund sanctuary cities.
Oh no, they gave them money. They didn't defund them, they gave them money.
Right.
Now, not to mention, the sanctuary cities thing, which honestly really ticks me off because Trump's been talking about wanting to cut their funding now for quite some time, yet we just gave them a bunch of money. Now, let's step away from the Crumnibus bill for a second, because he did something else today that really, really pisses me off. He just basically outlawed bump stocks, which is a direct assault to people with disabilities that might enjoy shooting. You don't need to outlaw bump stocks, but since it was created as a disability device, then make sure that only people with a certified disability can actually get the damn things. Problem solved. Duh.
Yeah. It's something that people still don't seem to understand. It is a device that was literally created so that people with ailments like muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, can actually shoot a rifle. It makes it so that they don't have to have the complete motor skills to fire a rifle. And people obviously figured out that they could use it for other things. Okay. That happens. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You walk into a Walmart, you see people that really probably don't need it using the motorized scooters too. Do you make the motorized scooters illegal? Or do you make people have to prove that they need it to use it so that the people that do need it get to use it? I mean, it's... they sit there and say, well, the bump stock's deadly. It literally turns it into an automatic weapon. Yeah, I can do the same thing with a belt loop or with a really strong rubber band. So are we going to outlaw rubber bands too?
Well, eventually they'll outlaw everything. I mean, that's the problem. Once they start outlawing things, where's it ever going to stop? I mean, that's like Citibank today. They just made an announcement that they're gonna stop people that use their bank machines and their blah 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 and their business accounts. If they do business with them, they can no longer sell weapons to anyone below the age of 21. Otherwise, they're gonna force them to close their accounts and take their business elsewhere.
Bye bye.
But that's what I'm talking about. We are, for everybody that's been talking about fascism on the rise in this country, it hasn't been coming from us. It's been coming from the left, and it's been coming for a long time, and nobody's talking about it until now. This was one of the reasons that I was kind of happy about the direction that some of these things were going in the country, because we were finally starting to see the masks coming off. But now, because now it's crazy because everybody's pissed at everybody about everything, and now we have a president with no moral compass that just says, hey, look, guys, I got to sign something. Yay! Where's my leather helmet?
Well, yeah, I mean, you brought up Citigroup, and it makes me realize how glad I am that my company did what they did, and that was we switched last year. We had all of our company credit cards were Citi, and we were actually having issues with managing our expense accounts, and we just decided to switch to Amex, because Amex offered us more tools to be able to manage our expense accounts. Now I'm glad, because I can tell you what, it would have been a real nightmare, because if this had all happened and we were still with Citi, my boss would have instantly been like, well, we're done with that. And it would have been a pretty quick changeover, switching. We've got 40 people with expense accounts that were running through Citi that are now running through Amex, but we did a slow rollover on that. We've done quick. I can tell you what, my boss would have been like, oh, I'm done with Citi.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, so we've kind of completely blown through the break, so I'm calling an audible. We're just not going to take one because we only got 20 minutes left anyway. So we're just going to keep going because at this point I kind of want to change topics one more time, and we're going to talk about the nice little war going on between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Apparently, Joe Biden...
Okay, really quick. Mm-hmm. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay.
Because I just noticed that I'm running low on battery.
Uh-oh.
And I need to walk out where the dogs are and get my cable.
Nice. Okay, so I'll just kind of talk amongst...
So you talk for a few minutes.
We'll talk amongst ourselves while you're out taking care of your battery. All right, so we won't move into that topic because, I don't really want to talk about it while he's not here and then have him unmute his mic and go, hey, what were we talking about? So we'll keep talking about what we've been talking about for most of the show, which is the unbridled spending. So this is what's driving me crazy today. There is no major party that is any longer espousing fiscal conservatism. They can tell you they are, and each one, depending on who's in the minority, often tries to tell you they are. But as soon as they become the majority party again, it all goes right out the window. So I have a question, and I asked this earlier. How much longer are we going to continue to play the rats in the maze? There are other choices. I encourage you guys to check out actually on Twitter you can find them, at RealFedco. You can also find the Federalist Party. They're not the same organization. One is more of kind of a think tank grassroots promotional group. The other one is actually at some point what they hope to be a full-fledged political party and an alternative to the madness that we see today. Because the one thing that I found from the Libertarian Party is they're really not that much different than the rest of them. Now, I'm hoping these guys are different because, again, I'm really tired of feeling like a rat in a maze. I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't do this anymore. I can't keep putting all my blood, sweat, and tears behind a party who says, hey, we're going to fix everything, just to have them not fix everything. So I urge you guys to make your own choices, make your own decisions. I'm not telling any of you what to think, who to vote for. I'm not telling you that if you still can't separate, never mind. I'm going to be nice. But if you still want to support Donald Trump, then that's fine. But if you, like Sean Hannity, can't seem to find where your shoulders stop and Trump's ass begins, then you and I probably don't need to talk much anymore. Now I hear Dan has come back, so we'll go ahead and change topics now. So have you seen the nice little back and forth between President Trump and Joe Biden?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
So I wish I had it pulled up because I would give him credit, because Jen and I completely on the fly came up with an idea last night because I didn't even really know what was going on with it other than I saw Trump had tweeted something about taking Biden down hard and fast, and I'm like, is he making a porno? But then it was. But then so Jen finds the actual article while we're on break, and then she's like, dude, I had to read through this for like 5 minutes to even find what they were talking about because they buried it way down at the bottom. So apparently Biden called out Trump at a rally talking about how if he had his druthers, if they were still in high school, he'd take them behind the building and kick his ass. So without even thinking about it, like about 5 minutes after she read that, all of a sudden I'm flashing to, you remember that GIF that they had where Donald Trump was running out and it was actually Vince McMahon, but somebody had pasted CNN's logo over his face and it just had Trump pummeling him from that time that he was on WWE. I was like, hey, Jen, Vince and Trump seem to be a little tight. Maybe we can solve the national debt, have them do like a WWE style pay-per-view with international licensing. And so we started joking about it. So I put out a tweet about it earlier today. And apparently somebody else had pretty much the exact same idea 12 hours earlier. Had no idea that they did, but called me a thief because they said it first. Because, nobody can have the same idea as you because it's always theft.
Right.
You came up with
Yeah, you stole that from me.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the old arguments about, Edison and Tesla. I really don't think there was much thievery going on since they were on opposite sides of the planet. I think they just had similar ideas with different ways to do it.
No.
Am I wrong?
Tesla saw Edison's stuff on the interwebs.
See, I heard it was the other way around. I heard Tesla was creeping on Edison's Facebook page. It's like,
yeah, no, I've seen a lot of things going around about this whole Trump Biden thing, and one of them was we need to bring back celebrity deathmatch.
Yeah, I think somebody actually suggested that on one of the tweets today. They're like, it only works if it's a fight to the death. I'm like, ooh, live action celebrity deathmatch, you savage.
And I saw one that says, Trump versus Biden, loser buys all the ED medicine for the rest of their lives.
Well, if Trump loses, he wouldn't have to buy much.
I mean, this again. Where are we?
I mean, dude, I honestly don't know, because as funny as it is, it's pretty terrifying to think about the fact that a former vice president basically just threatened to kick the ass of a sitting president, and the sitting president basically tweeted, "Bring it, bitch."
Yeah, I mean, I saw something else. I mean, what would have happened if Dick Cheney had said that about Biden?
I don't know. The funny thing about it is, though, we keep acting like politics is supposed to be this big civilized thing. It's never really been that. Somehow we've romanticized politics into thinking that these people are supposed to be like these highbrow Gentile types who are better than everybody else. Dude, I remember, from reading history books where dude was getting his ass beat with a cane in the well of the Senate because somebody else got pissed off about something that he said. Politics is...
Oh, yeah.
Politics
it used to be much more. I mean, it's still that way over in England. I mean, in Parliament, there's fist fights and stuff. There still is today. And it used to be that way here. But it's silliness here. I mean, over there it's passion. This is just silliness. I mean, it's Joe Biden. Go stand on your front porch and just shoot your shotgun in the air. It'll scare everybody away.
I mean, I'm just wondering, what is Biden going to do? Start sniffing Trump's hair? Dang. I mean, somebody actually just tweeted out a pretty good analogy going back to the whole budget thing. This is basically Trump giving his teenager an unlimited credit card, but the bill comes to us, not the teenager, not Trump.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like we said. Like people are saying it's not a budget. It isn't, but it is. What it's basically saying is this isn't necessarily what's going to be spent, but it's what can be spent, and it's the government, so it will be spent.
Yes, rest assured. Just because they don't have to spend it doesn't mean they ain't gonna spend it, because they're gonna spend it, and I guarantee you by the time it's all said and done, they're gonna spend more than what's even been listed there on crazier things than we even know about, because remember, it's 2,200 plus pages. 2,200 plus mother pages. We went through a little bitty snippet of 600 pages worth of crap that took me 5 minutes to read just the abridged version of all of the money that we were wasting to, build up the military in Vietnam, to, build up integrity in other countries, to, I mean, I even saw one of the other tweets that I saw was something about helping to build up the border between Laos and Cambodia. So we can't build up our own border because there's no money for that in there, but we can help another country establish their sovereignty better. Yeah, gee, thanks.
Yeah, this is something that maybe what bothers me most about all this, and as you were reading through with all that foreign aid in there and everything else, especially what was it, billions of dollars in foreign disaster relief to relieve disasters in countries and send these countries all of this money so they can turn around and talk about what assholes the United States are.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of assholes, but don't worry. We'll lift you up when you have an earthquake or you have a tsunami. We'll be in there with all of our tax money to help you and everything else. But yeah, we're a bunch of assholes. We're a bunch of snotty Americans. Whatever. I'm done with it. I want that over. I want that. I don't want to help these countries anymore. If they were grateful at all for anything we do for them, then I might have a different tone. They hate us. Why do we help them? Let them help themselves. Sorry. I understand. You know, the children, you have a tsunami, the children may be sick, they may be starving. Why is it my responsibility to take care of your children when you hate me and you wish me dead?
Yeah, I don't know why we keep doing this.
And again, I guess, oh, look, you're just a nationalist isolationist. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I want to be friendly with other countries. But we've got to stop with the only way that apparently we feel like we can be friendly with other countries is to support them. I'm tired of it. It's not our job to support them. It's their job to support themselves. We have that enough of that problem here with people here that don't want to support themselves.
Oh.
Why do we got to support other countries with people that don't want to support themselves?
I mean, you know, I don't understand how we went from let's make America great again to let's make Laos and Cambodia great again.
Exactly. And Vietnam.
Let's make Vietnam great again. Let's make Afghanistan great again. Let's make everybody but us great again.
Afghanistan will never be great. It doesn't matter how many different countries try. Afghanistan is never going to be great. This Afghanistan, trying to make Afghanistan great between how many different countries has been going on for decades. Afghanistan's a mess. It's always going to be a mess.
And the worst part is, because everybody, you know, we talk about how much these countries hate us. The worst part is, if you go back and you look at some of the history from Afghanistan back when we were trying to help them get rid of the Russians, back when it was the USSR, part of what turned them against us, as much as they turned against us, was because after we had done all of that and we had helped them drive out basically the Russians and we promised them all this help with their schools and everything else, we packed up and went home and just left them to fend for themselves. So that's part of the reason why no matter how many times we try to come back in there with money here and there, it doesn't do any good, because at some point there's a policy change and all of a sudden we're right back out again. I'm out of the nation building business because it never works. That's not what if we're going to build a nation, we need to focus on building this nation, because this nation is falling apart. Our infrastructure is terrible. We have homeless people defecating on California streets so badly that they actually have a hepatitis outbreak. But we're sending money to Vietnam and Cambodia. I mean, not that California doesn't actually kind of count as its own third world country now, because they've pretty much done everything but secede.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you brought up a point with the nation building. What I don't understand is countries that it doesn't even necessarily be us. They're a country, they're in turmoil, war, whatever. A country comes in and helps them. They literally take care of the problem. They solve the problem and say, okay, here you go. We're going to give you some money. Here you go. Build your nation back up. And they can't get along within their own country enough to build their nation back up, and it ends up falling apart again, and then they turn around and blame the country that helped them. How far do we have to go? Because if you go too far and you keep funding them and staying there and helping them build, then all of a sudden the rest of the world is calling you an interloper, and at this point, it almost makes me say, just stay out of it. Just stay out of it. I mean, we had a reason. I think we had a reason for a good reason for Iraq. But I think we had an even better reason for going into Afghanistan, because we knew for a fact that Al-Qaeda was training in Afghanistan, and I get that. How far do we have to go into getting these people to just build themselves up? I mean, it might just be Afghanistan. I just think is a lost cause, no matter what. I just think it's always going to be a lost cause, because you get so many different factions of essentially the same leaning people. It's different factions of Muslims, and they can't get along. They just can't get along. What do you do?
Well, the one thing you don't do is keep handing them money when we're broke. I mean, the $20 trillion national debt is going to come a-calling, and it's not going to be us that answers it. It's going to be our kids, our grandkids, and their grandkids who have to deal with it if we're even still here. And at this point, I really don't know if we're still going to be here, because nobody stands for anything anymore. I mean, that was the one thing that I actually thought I started seeing from Trump was, at least when it came down to it, he would stand up for what he believed in. He didn't today, because he could have.
No, it makes me start to wonder: is what exactly does he really believe in?
Apparently nothing, except for military spending, because that's. I mean, and I get it. Everybody that I know that is connected to him in one way or another keeps telling me that it was Mattis that basically told him that he needed to sign this because it had the military spending that they needed. But that doesn't make any sense to me, because I know I've said this multiple times on this show and I've said it on Twitter, but at the same time, he could have gotten the spending anyway, and he could have stood on principle and vetoed it, and then either made Congress go back and take some of the extra crap out, or been like, guys, I tried, but at the end of the day, they had a veto-proof majority, so they got what they wanted. So now you guys need to do what you feel is right in November, because now he's nobody's pissed at Congress right now. They're pissed at him.
Yeah,
because he signed it. I mean, we had three members of Congress standing up saying we're not going to do this. This is terrible. And they weren't the only ones. They were the ones with the biggest names, but they weren't the only ones. I saw tweets from all over Congress yesterday talking about how terrible this was and how there was no way they were going to vote for it. All told, I think there were, 33 senators that voted no and 80 some odd congressmen?
I think it was actually about 90 congressmen.
I think it was like 88, 89, but I could be wrong. But that's my point. It wasn't just Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio. There was a good coalition of folks in there that were trying to do the right thing by the American people and trying to do what the hell we sent them to D.C. for. We didn't send the Republican majority was sent to D.C. to put the brakes on all the stupid shit that Barack Obama was paying for. So we send them to D.C. to put the brakes on the stuff that Barack Obama's paying for, and then we finally get a supposed Republican in the White House with a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and now all of a sudden we're still giving the Democrats what they want? I mean, I heard Chuck Schumer today say they're getting more done as the minority party than they could do when they were the majority.
Yeah.
Because we're caving.
All for military spending. Which, like I said, and you've said, that's great. I want the military funded. That's what our government is supposed to be doing. That's what the federal government is supposed to do.
That's pretty much all it's supposed to do. I mean, there's like 3 things that were outlined in the general government: mutual defense, mutual trade, and there was one other that I can't think of because it's getting late.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I'll have libertarians yell at me, but infrastructure. You know, that's what we, you know, we need state-to-state infrastructure. You know, I mean, literally the roads. And libertarians yell at me, oh, the roads. Well, yeah, the roads.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Oh, sorry, I'm quoting from Back to the Future, too.
Why do we, I mean, there's so much, I guarantee you there is so much. If you read through that 2,200 pages, there's so much in there that really should be left up to the states and local governments.
Exactly.
And instead, the Fed takes care of it, and then the state and local governments go, oh, good, now we have more money for social programs.
And the funny thing is, if you actually put out polls and ask people, you know, on this issue, who's best equipped to handle it? Federal government, state government, local government. 9 times out of 10, even if it's a toss-up between state and local, they always say not the federal government. But so if everybody that, you know, that is actively involved in politics thinks the federal government should be out of most things, because pretty much libertarians feel that way, most Republicans feel that way, most Democrats think government is the answer for everything, so we know how they feel. But if libertarians and Republicans can agree that the government should really be out of most things at the national level, why the hell is the government not out of most things at the national level?
Because I said something on Twitter yesterday that, well, you've cussed a couple times.
I was going to say
tonight.
I've already blown the rule, brother. So feel free.
I mean, basically, what I said is that I've just come to the conclusion at the federal level there's the GOP and the Democrats are basically just sitting up there in Washington stroking each other's dicks. There's no difference between the two of them. There's no difference. On the surface, they'll yell and scream and they'll argue, but when it comes right down to stuff like this, they're one and the same. Well, I'll fund your thing $2 billion if you fund my thing $2 billion. It's the same thing. There's no principles. It's just, we can make the money. Let's just keep spending it. We'll be dead before it's got to be paid back. Who cares what our constituents want? Let's just make each other happy.
Oh,
that's all it is. That's all it is.
Church,
let's just make each other happy.
Kurt Schlichter just quote tweeted Kim Ross. This is going to get ugly.
Oh, boy. Ooh, two people I like. Fun.
Well, apparently, I guess I take that back. I think she actually quote tweeted him first. He's like, I can live with him signing this. I fully understand that now is not the time for this fight. I don't like it, but you don't always get everything you want. So then she quote tweets him and says, and the soothing begins from the usual parties. So then he responds and says, the cruise ship kids and the cruise ship kids B squad is at it again. It's not inconsistent to take the least bad alternative. What's really insulting about these nobodies is they think we're dumb enough to fall for their hack taunts. Fetch me a margarita. I'm chilling on the Lido deck. So then she comes back again.
I'm staying out of that one, but to be honest with you, I'll side with Kim.
So then she comes back again, and this was, I guess, that must be where it finally died, because this is from like 5 hours ago. And she's like, never go full Schlichter, kids.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
And you know, you know I love Kim, and you know how I feel about the Colonel. I
don't know. I kind of have a love-hate. I
fanboyed all over him at CPAC last year.
Yeah, I know. He still has the stains on his pants to prove it. No, I'm just playing.
But he has gone. I mean, he like I said earlier, he's a military guy. He's looking at this and going, thank God the military is funded. That's his Kim's main thing in her brain all the time is Planned Parenthood. His main thing in his brain all the time is fund the military. So he got what he wanted and she didn't get what she wanted. He isn't happy that Planned Parenthood is funded, but he got what he wanted. You know what I mean? That's how I look at the two of them.
Yeah, and you're probably right. And I mean, I get it. He's a military guy. He's happy that they got their funding. But, I mean, to me, it's not just about the funding. You know, if this was really the 4D chess match that everybody says it was, Donald Trump could have ran the board today just by pulling a veto.
Yes.
But we're long, so why don't you remind folks where it is they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio listening to me yell about crappy spending bills.
Oh, let me think about this. What's my Twitter handle now?
I don't know. You've changed it like 12 times since Tuesday.
It's at Teed Right Off, and that's right with a W, on Twitter, and me on Facebook, Dan Wright. That's about it.
You know,
Come follow me. I only have like 280 followers now.
If you were still doing a solo show, that would be a great rebranding to the name of your show. Call it Teed Right Off, because then you could just yell for the whole hour.
That basically was the name of my show.
I don't honestly remember what it was called. I just remember that you didn't pick my name, so I was kind of disappointed. See, someday I might have the time again. See, I tried to get him to start his show with an A, so it was kind of up there with America Off the Rails. I told him to go with Always Right and spell it WRIGHT. He said it was great, and then he went with another idea. Jerk. All right, so anyway, you can follow along with me on Twitter at Radio Host Rick. You can also shoot me an email if you want, if you're old school, at rick@klrnradio.com. If you like the show, tell your friends. If you don't like the show, why the hell are you listening? But if your friends like the show, to steal the line from Grouchy, you might need better friends. That's going to do it for this particular episode, folks. We'll be back with you to kick off, or actually cap off, your Friday night again next week, and I'll be back with you before you know it. I actually think we're about to do a late night off the rails, because I didn't get a chance to do one earlier. It depends on whether or not I can do a whole nother hour, but we're at least going to kick it off and see how long we can run. So plan on being back here in a second or so if you want to keep enjoying listening to me yell and scream about things that are really pissing me off. And I think I have Jess from Jess's POV who might be joining me to rant as well. Apparently she's as unhappy about the budget mess as the rest of us are. But I am going to load an outro so we can get out of here because I completely forgot what I was doing. Go figure. You know what? Screw it. We'll just run this one. Kind of a generic one now anyway. Good night, folks. We'll see you next week.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man.